Funding for this program was made possible in part by
Holtzman Oil for friendly and courteous delivery of heating oil and kerosene. We serve residential, commercial, and agricultural customers with competitive pricing, efficient delivery service, and friendly, knowledgeable staff to help when you call.
Unlock your newest member benefit. Over 1,000 episodes of your favorite PBS shows. American Masters, Antiques Roadshow, Nature, Nova, Masterpiece. Watch the best of PBS anytime, anywhere. Become a member, sign in, and start streaming today.
You can never trust anybody but your guy next to you. That's why we are all brothers.
Charles Reynolds Tao, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Sergeant. I got my draft notice within a month after I got out of school. Went down to my physical and I was 15 pounds overweight. So I went home when I died a month later, went back and enlisted in the Army. I made the weight. And I was going to take in the tank battalion, but my brother taught me to go be an engineer, so that's where I ended up. The combat engineer is different than a regular engineer. We were always out with infantry, tank crews, everything. We were always on the field. The regular engineer just stayed back on base and just did oddball jobs. You know, we did a lot of mime sweeps and stuff like that. What they call IEDs now. I ran a mine detector, like a metal detector kids have nowadays. And it made such a high shrill when you picked up a piece of metal or blasting cap or anything, it got louder. And I lost a lot of my hearing because of that. We were supposed to do it like an hour at a time. I did 3-4 hours. And I got that tinnitus, whatever it's called. I've lost, just a lot of it. Oh, my first tour, I was at LZ Fat City. It was north of Chulai. We were like a mile off the main road. My second tour was LZ Duck Pho, Montezuma area. So I been almost 2 full years in that place. Gosh, we did so much over there. We had one company we had to kind of bail out in a way. They were fixing a wooden bridge that the VC blew up. And the VC took about half that platoon out. So they called us in, we finished it up, and I was pulling guard and stuff. We're just lucky we didn't get shot at that day. And we get with other engineering companies, like mine sweeps, road clearing, putting up or taking down LZs or fire support bases like that. We all work together pretty good. And a lot of the guys like me, we're on our second tour. Even my good buddy Vinny Venturino lives up in New Jersey, and we keep in touch. We put out 2 tours together. And NCOs were making the first tour kind of actually looked to us for advice about certain things. Here I'm an E5 getting E6 and E7 of advice, and if we took a squad out on patrol or something, we tell the guys, don't touch this, don't touch that. And they kind of ask you why. If you pick a thing up, it's going to blow up in your hand. It's going to take you and some other guys with you. The Vietnamese were smart. They could take the Zippo lighter, you pick it up and flick it, it's going to blow up in your hand. You see no mortar around, leave it alone. Old bombs, don't go near them. Because they'd be booby-trapped in front of that and you're gone. They were smart. They had tunnels. God, they were smart. I couldn't fit them while I was too big, thank goodness, but we had tunnel rats down there. Little guys are like 5 foot tall, 98 pounds. They're going to wear 45 in a flashlight. They had my respect.
So in January of '67, I became an Army chaplain. I had 2 requests. One, to become an airborne chaplain, and the other to go to Vietnam. And they said, well, we can take care of one right away. And that was to learn how to fall out of airplanes. And the other, you can't go until you've been in the chaplaincy for a year. Now, mind you, this was January '67. I did the training and became an airborne chaplain with the 101st Airborne Division. an infantry division, great history, stationed in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. The whole division went to Vietnam in December, so in 10 months, I found myself in Vietnam. And probably the penultimate experience of what any chaplain could possibly experience. Because for me, I was right there with those little infantry, what we call grunts. I was right there with those little grunts, right in the different world in which we lived, or these guys were forced to live. In fact, the comments that they would make is say, when I get back in the world, as if they were in another world. When I get back in the world, this is what I'm going to do. But that year that I spent with those soldiers was just absolutely fanatic.
Well, my name's John R. Rocher. I was drafted in 1967. After failing a few physicals, Lyndon Johnson wanted to take everybody in, and he did. So I was drafted in the Army. Every third person in the line was drafted in the Marine Corps. And it was a very build-up time because of Vietnam escalating, and it was just time for me to get drafted, I guess. But they put me on a bus. They took me to Fort Bragg for basic training. I was basic training at Fort Bragg. I transferred from Bragg to Fort Eustis, where I became the Army's Navy, which I never knew the Army had boats. But we moved in at nighttime, and CQ had told me to look over the hill in the morning, and there were tugboats, there were freighter, LSTs, Mike boats, just anything that you can think. The Army at that time had more boats than the Navy did, not ships, but boats. I became a marine engineer, which was basically a grease monkey or a mechanic. Out of the class, there were 7 of us that were drafted. The rest of the class, which was about maybe 70 more people, actually enlisted to go into the Army's Navy. So in that time, I learned how to fix diesel engines and mechanic-wise and so forth. I left Fort Eustis on leave. I had about a 28-day leave. I got married on that leave, and I was deployed to Vietnam through Seattle, Washington. I went out of Washington, actually Bremerton, I guess is the area, I'm not sure. But stopped in Japan and then flew on into Cam Ranh Bay in Vietnam. I just turned 21. I was 20 when I was drafted, and in October I was 21. But like I say, they had just numerous guys that were drafted or enlisted for the Vietnam War. It was not a hometown favorite thing to do, but I kind of respected people that were in the military before me, especially World War II veterans. Didn't know too much about Korean veterans. There was a man by the name of Dorsey Offutt that was, he was in the Army. When he hit Normandy, they were invading Germany and he got injured there. 29th Division, that's who he was with. And I kind of kept that in the back of my mind. If he could do it, I should do it.
He was a guy you kind of looked up to?
Yeah, he was a mentor. He had lost one leg completely and the other one was limited. They almost wanted to take that off also. but he drove his car with his left foot, gas and brake. So his son Mike was my best friend back then. So, but anyway, my dad was in the Coast Guard and the Navy during World War II. He was stationed at Port Isabel, Texas. So I had the respect of the military on his side. So I squabbled because I was drafted, but I knew I had to do it. So there it was. I entered Vietnam in January of '68. I was there for Tet. I was in Quy Nhon at that time. After Tet, they moved us up north. We were up at Quang Tri Province, which is a little north of Da Nang at the DMZ zone. It was exciting times for all.
Hi, I'm Ray Powell. Went to Vietnam. First of all, I graduated from ROTC and received a commission in the U.S. Army in the Corps of Engineers, and then went to flight school. From flight school, went on to Vietnam in 1968. Came back in '69, it was in August. I was with the 1st Cavalry Division, 228th Aviation Battalion, flying CH-47 Chinooks. And our aircraft were parked around. We were up on a hillside. Aircraft were bunkered in a hole, maintained. It was actually a D7 bulldozer, made a hole in the ground, and we'd hover down into it to protect the aircraft from incoming rocket fire. During that year, we were very lucky. We didn't have any losses of aircraft during that period that I was there. Tremendous aircraft. No matter what happened, I could still keep it flying. I brought it home with a variety of different problems.
We were young women just out of college with a thirst for adventure and a desire to do something real. There were 2.5 million of them and just over 600 of us. The ratio was 4,000 to 1.
Well, my name is Holly Watts. In college, which was at Villanova University and then Rosemont College, I was Jean Holly McAleese. I decided to go to Holly when I hit college because I didn't like the name Jean. Who knew? And I went to the placement office in my senior year at Rosemont with a degree in psychology. There I discovered I didn't want to go to grad school. I wasn't grad school material. And I saw a brochure in the placement office that said, spend a unique year of your life. They weren't kidding. This was the American Red Cross program called Supplemental Recreational Activities Overseas. In 1942, in Europe, the program was Clubmobile. The program I applied to and was accepted was a 2-week training in Washington, D.C., which was more about what is the Red Cross, how does it work in communities, how do they raise their money, what is the purpose and mission of the American Red Cross. So we were pretty well indoctrinated by the time our 2 weeks was up, and then we were assigned to Vietnam. We chose whether to go to Vietnam or Korea because the Clubmobile program in which we were enlisting, you could say, was the program was available to those who wanted to go to either Vietnam or Korea. I chose Vietnam because my cousin was there. Johnny was a Marine. He was stationed in Chu Lai, and I did see him.
I was one of them that went into the recruiter and said, I want to join the Army. He was reading the paper at the time, and he looked up at me and he looked back down at his paper. He said, yeah, what judge sent you down here? I didn't see no judge. He looked up and he said, what girl you got in trouble? Not me, man. I'm innocent. And then, he said, okay, go finish high school and come back to see me. Well, did. I brought my diploma with me. He said, he put his paper down, he looked at me, he said, now wait a minute, let me get this straight. You're a high school graduate. Yep. You're not in trouble with the law. Nope. You're not in trouble with some girl. Nope. And you want to enlist. Yep. Sign here. Said, I'll send you anywhere you want to go. All right? Send me to Vietnam. He thought I was crazy. He thought I was the nuttiest thing that had ever walked into his office. But they did. They sent me to school and taught me how to use a gun and how to jump out of airplanes and sent me off to Vietnam. I was just a private, I was just an 18-year-old kid, had no idea of what I was getting into or, what was about to happen to me. And when I got to Vietnam, they said, here you go, we need some volunteers. So I volunteered for a Ranger company, with the 173rd Airborne Brigade. And I got there and I very quickly learned what that was all about. They would take 5 men and go out into the jungle all by ourselves and see what we could find.
My name is Robert Baldwin. I was a retired Navy Lieutenant Commander. I enlisted at age 17 and went through the enlisted ranks, the warrant officer ranks and commissioned ranks, and retired as a Lieutenant Commander in a Navy Captain's billet. I was actually relieved by a Navy Captain, but that's what they call it. The Navy calls them a Mustang. Anyway, I joined 2 weeks out of high school and went through boot camp, went through Navy photographic school. I wanted to go overseas, but they sent me to Washington, D.C., so I guess they figured I could visit Embassy Row. After my first enlistment, I went to photographic B schools, 24 weeks of advanced photo training. And there I was sent to Amphibious Forces 7th Fleet, where I began nearly 4 years of doing amphibious landings and stuff in Nam and basically throughout the Pacific, but I spent a great deal of time in Nam. And that was my combat camera experience there. later came back to the States in a special intelligence billet, and then fairly soon made Chief Petty Officer and Warrant Officer within 2 weeks of each other. Then they sent me right back to Vietnam as Aviation Maintenance Officer, or Aircraft Maintenance Officer for 2 different squadrons in Da Nang. So basically combat photographer from 64 through 67, and Aircraft Maintenance Officer from 70, 71, and 72 as one of the last ones out before, except for the people in Saigon.
I'm Kenneth Emerson. Was in the United States Navy Seabees. I enlisted in 1964 in July. I first went aboard aircraft carrier CVA-42 Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Spent 2 years on the Roosevelt and made 2 mid-deployments. I went to Port Hueneme, California with the Seabees in 1966. My first deployment to Vietnam was Da Nang. And some things that in Da Nang come to mind is Freedom Hill. And Freedom Hill was a big, huge, we call it in the Navy BX, but the Army calls it PX, but it was a huge, like Walmart. So everything over there wasn't all drab and gory like some of it's portrayed. I got my wife and I's wedding rings there to BX. And you could get your hair cut there on the base. We were right across. Camp Hoover was just adjacent to the big Da Nang Air Base. And in June 1966, the air base got rocketed and several of the airmen got killed. Another thing, it rained from February to on up about the last of April, 1st of May, just rain, mud. We had another rocket attack several nights later. They were always trying to hit the helicopters, which was adjacent to us there, and lots of times a lot of the mortars and RPGs and things would land in our compound. In June, we had a rocket attack, and they hit the oil bladders, and the oil bladders set on fire and ran down into the ammo dump and exploded. And this explosion went on, seemed like for hours, but I know it wasn't that long. But a grenade, big Hollister shell landed about 8-10 feet from our bunker, and it stuck in the ground. It didn't explode. It just stuck nose down in the ground. And we just finished a brand new building, Butler building. It was shiny and nice and new. And after that, we went back up and looked at it, and it looked like somebody took a shotgun and shot a beer can. This was in 1968. This is the Tet Offensive.
You were there during Tet?
I was there during Tet. This was all during Tet Offensive. They had a big move. We was afraid we was going to be overrun. I'm not sure about the number, but I think it was like something like 100-some thousand Viet Cong and another 100,000 or so North Vietnamese regulars. And they had swooped down and they overrun and took the city of Hue. And we were in the process of, our Seabees were backup or support unit for the Marines during that operation.
Funding for this program was made possible in part by
Holtzman Propane is a full-service propane retailer combining competitive pricing with excellent service. Serving residential, commercial, and agricultural markets, Holtzman Propane offers 24-hour repair service, gas line and appliance installation, and automatic meter deliveries.
Unlock your newest member benefit. Over 1,000 episodes of your favorite PBS shows. American Masters, Antiques Roadshow, Nature, Nova, Masterpiece. Watch the best of PBS anytime, anywhere. Become a member, sign in, and start streaming today.